The spotlight cuts through the haze of a grand Washington auditorium, packed with power brokers, flashing cameras, and the hum of a nation watching live. It's a high-stakes policy forum, billed as a clash of visions for America's future. Bipartisan, they said, but the air crackles with unspoken divides. On stage, two women face off: Ivanka Trump, the epitome of polished dynasty, her blonde hair gleaming under the lights, lips curled in that signature smirk of unassailable privilege.
Across from her, Jasmine Crockett, the Texas firebrand. Her posture straight as justice itself, eyes sharp with the wisdom of streets fought and systems challenged. Ivanka leans into the microphone, her voice silk over steel, laced with the casual cruelty of someone who's never known a door slammed in her face. "Congresswoman Crockett," she purrs, drawing out the words like a verdict, "you speak of equity and opportunity as if you've earned a seat at this table, but let's be real, you're out of your depth in these elite circles. This isn't the courtroom drama you're used to, it's the boardroom of real power. Some rise by birthright, others scramble for scraps. Which do you think built this country?" The room inhales sharply, gasps ripple through the crowd, moderators frozen, aides whispering furiously into phones, entitlement drips from every syllable, a reminder of walls built not just on policy but on pedigree, on whispers of "not one of us." Ivanka's eyes gleam with triumph as if she's already won, dismissing the daughter of immigrants, the public defender turned congresswoman, as some interloper in a game rigged from the cradle. But Jasmine doesn't flinch. Her gaze locks on Ivanka's, unyielding, a storm brewing behind those steady eyes, the kind forged in the fires of defending the voiceless against the very arrogance now on display. The audience leans forward, hearts pounding. Outrage simmers. How dare she? This isn't just a jab, it's an assault on every American who's clawed their way up, every story of grit over gold spoons. The tension coils like a spring, the nation holding its breath. What will Jasmine say? In that electric silence, the underdog's resolve hints at thunder to come, a response that could shatter the facade of inherited superiority forever. The auditorium pulses with the weight of history in the making. This isn't just any panel, it's a bipartisan summit on policy reform convened amid whispers of a divided America clawing toward unity or fracture. Cameras from every network beam the scene nationwide, millions tuning in from living rooms in Rust Belt towns, immigrant enclaves, and coastal enclaves alike. The topic: reshaping opportunity in a land where the promise of the dream hangs by a thread. On one side, voices for the forgotten, workers grinding through endless shifts, families piecing together futures from sheer will. On the other, the echo of old guard power, where doors swing open on family names, not forged paths. Ivanka's opening salvo lands like a gauntlet thrown, her dismissal of Jasmine not mere rhetoric but a stark symbol of elitist gatekeeping. It's the kind that says, "Know your place," to every striver who's ever been eyed with suspicion for daring to ascend. In her words, the threat crystallizes, meritocracy under siege, resilience mocked by those who've never tasted its bite. This challenge strikes at America's core, the belief that hustle trumps heritage, that the child of sharecroppers, or newcomers, can stand tall beside the silver spoon set. Ivanka embodies the villainy of inherited insulation, her poise a veneer over a system that hoards power for the pedigreed sidelining, the resilient souls who built this nation brick by sweat-drenched brick. Yet, amid the murmurs swelling like a gathering wave, Jasmine Crockett sits unmoved, her unyielding spirit a beacon for the audience. This is no fragile underdog, she's the embodiment of everyday Americans, progressives, immigrants, pride-filled fighters, who see in her the validation of their own battles. Her presence alone raises the stakes, a reminder that true representation isn't gifted, it's seized through unbreaking resolve. The panel's facade of civility cracks further as questions probe deeper into reform's heart. How do we honor the merit that lifts communities from margins to mainstream? Ivanka's retort sharpens, doubling down on subtle barbs about real-world experience versus activist ideals, her tone laced with the arrogance of unchallenged legacy. The crowd shifts uneasily, phones lighting up with texts of solidarity. "She's got this. Don't let them erase us." National eyes lock on, sensing the pivot point. Will elitism's grip tighten, or will resilience reclaim the narrative? Jasmine's calm, her gaze never wavering, teases the fire within, a spirit tempered by defending the defenseless, by turning policy into lifelines for the overlooked. It's the clash that defines us. inherited power versus the people's earned voice, threatening to unravel the threads of equity if unchecked. But as Ivanka doubled down, what Jasmine did next would redefine the fight for the soul of the nation. To grasp the venom in Ivanka's strike, we must rewind through the gilded corridors of dynasty that shaped her, a world where power isn't earned in the trenches but inherited like a crown jewel. Born Ivanka Marie Trump in 1981, she emerged from the opulent shadows of New York real estate royalty, daughter of Donald and Ivana, amid the marble halls of Trump Tower. From toddler tantrums in penthouse suites to teen years jet-setting between estates, her life was a symphony of silver spoons, where struggle meant choosing between Hampton summers or Aspen winters. No late-night shifts flipping burgers, no scraping tuition from part-time gigs, just the effortless glide into Columbia University, then Wharton, degrees handed like family heirlooms, unmarred by the doubt that haunts true climbers. Her ascent wasn't forged in fire but fast-tracked through the family machine. Post-grad, she dove into the Trump Organization, negotiating deals not on merit alone but on the unbreakable shield of her surname. Real estate mogul by 25, she helmed projects like the Trump Soho, where branding trumped building from scratch. Critics whispered nepotism, but Ivanka deflected with that trademark poise, smiles for the cameras, sound bites, an empowerment that masked the unearned edge. Her fashion line followed, a glossy venture peddling $10,000 bracelets to the elite, while she preached fiscal conservatism from boardrooms built on bailouts. It was privilege personified, a safety net woven from billions, allowing risks others couldn't dream of without ruin. Then came the White House, the pinnacle of her borrowed throne. Appointed senior advisor in 2017, Ivanka positioned herself as the ethical beacon, advocating for women's rights, paid family leave, workforce development. Speeches dripped with ideals. Empowering women lifts us all, she'd say, her voice a velvet glove over ironclad legacy, yet contradictions festered like cracks in marble. While preaching transparency, her brand secured Chinese trademarks amid trade wars her father waged. Profiting from public office? The ethics complaints piled up. Family hotels hosting foreign dignitaries, funneling taxpayer dollars into Trump coffers. She deflected masterfully. I'm focused on policy, ignoring the optics of a daughter-turned-advisor whose security clearance bypassed norms, granted not by scrutiny but proximity. This history of polished deflections became her armor, a habit honed in foxhole-free battles. Interviews glossed over bankruptcies that burdened workers while she sailed unscathed. Op-eds on opportunity sidestepped the nepotism that launched her books to bestseller lists via Daddy's Rolodex. Arrogance bloomed unchecked, the assumption that elite circles were her birthright, outsiders mere footnotes. It masked the void of unearned privilege. No immigrant parent's sacrifice, no bootstraps yanked from mud, just a narrative of self-made myth atop inherited mountains. Contrast this with the fighters she's dismissed, those whose resumes read like war stories, not trust funds, and her overconfidence glares like a flare. In that forum, Ivanka's smirk wasn't random. It was the ticking bomb of dynasty delusion, primed to explode against a foe who knows real stakes. She doubled down, weaving more barbs about elite depth, blind to the fighter across the stage whose every breath screamed authenticity. Her history screamed entitlement, a villain's playbook of deflection over depth, setting the stage for hubris's inevitable fall. Little did she know, challenging a true warrior like Jasmine would unravel the threads of her carefully curated facade, exposing the fragility beneath the gloss. In the heart of America's promise, where dreams clash against barriers, Jasmine Crockett's story unfolds like a testament to unyielding grit, a hero forged not in luxury, but in the raw fires of justice denied. Born on March 29, 1981, in St. Louis, Missouri, she entered a world already stacked against the ambitious black girl with big visions. Raised in a community where opportunity often felt like a distant mirage, Jasmine learned early that resilience wasn't optional, it was survival. Her parents instilled in her the value of education as a ladder out of inequality, pushing her through the halls of the Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day School, where she honed her sharp mind amid peers who couldn't fathom her daily battles against subtle slights and systemic doubts. College called her south to Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee, where she pursued a bachelor's in business administration, blending analytical prowess with a growing fire for fairness. But it was law school at the University of Houston that ignited her true calling. Graduating with her JD in 2006, Jasmine didn't chase corporate towers or fat paychecks. She dove headfirst into the trenches as a public defender in Bowie County's office. Licensed in Texas, Arkansas, and federal courts, she stood as the last line of defense for the voiceless, the poor, the marginalized, the children ensnared in a criminal justice system rigged to exploit rather than rehabilitate. Day after grueling day, she fought to keep kids out of jail cells, arguing against a machine that chewed up lives and spat out statistics. Criminal justice is intersectional, she'd later reflect, seeing how race, poverty, and power intertwine to trap the vulnerable in cycles of despair. Those years as a public defender were her crucible. Jasmine sacrificed sleep, safety, and sometimes sanity, facing down corrupt prosecutors and indifferent judges who viewed her clients as disposable. She witnessed families torn apart by overzealous charges, immigrants scapegoated, and black communities disproportionately policed. It wasn't glamorous, it was gut-wrenching work, often unpaid in spirit if not in fact, demanding she pour her soul into cases where victory meant one less life derailed. But authenticity shone through. Her empathy wasn't performative, it was personal, rooted in her own brushes with the edges of injustice. Proud lifetime member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, she drew strength from sisterhood, channeling collective black excellence into her advocacy. Emboldened, Jasmine founded her own law firm, specializing in criminal defense and civil rights, where she took on the Goliaths of corruption head on. She sued for voting rights, challenged discriminatory policies, and defended those the system had already condemned. Her courtroom battles weren't just legal, they were moral reckonings, exposing how entitlement and greed perpetuated inequality. Yet, the sacrifices mounted, long nights poring over evidence, threats from those she challenged, and the emotional toll of carrying others' burdens. As Bowie County Democratic Party chair, she organized amid resistance, building coalitions in a red-leaning landscape. The call to politics came amid national turmoil, George Floyd's murder, economic craters from the pandemic, and racial reckonings that demanded action. Jasmine marched in the streets, her voice rising with the crowds, then channeled that fury into a run for the Texas House of Representatives in 2020. Elected to District 100, she became the sole black freshman and youngest black lawmaker in a session dubbed the most conservative in state history. Undaunted, she filed more bills than any newcomer, pushing for criminal justice reforms that passed against all odds, measures to curb police overreach, expand voting access, and foster economic opportunity. As a founding member of the Texas Progressive Caucus and the Texas Caucus on Climate, Energy, and the Environment, she sat on key committees: business industry for jobs, criminal jurisprudence for reform. Her crowning defiance, co-architecting the 2021 House quorum break, fleeing to D.C. to stall voter suppression bills, drawing global eyes to Texas's assault on democracy. For 38 days, she sacrificed normalcy, family time, and political capital, standing firm as Republicans branded them fugitives. That grit propelled her to Congress in 2022, succeeding the legendary Eddie Bernice Johnson in Texas's 30th District. Sworn in January 2023, Jasmine hit the ground running, elected freshman leadership representative in the 118th Congress, then vice-ranking member of Oversight and Accountability, ranking member of the Judiciary Subcommittee on the Administrative State and Communications, Task Force co-chair for the Democratic Women's Caucus. On Judiciary and Oversight committees, she dismantles corruption with unshakable poise, grilling witnesses on civil liberties, holding power accountable. As the first African-American Law Center alum in the House, her path screams authenticity, no silver spoons, just sweat and sacrifice. These trials sculpted Jasmine into a force, a woman whose empathy fuels her fire, whose grit turns entitlement's barbs into dust. She's the hero America needs, prepared to face down arrogance with truth that cuts like a blade. As Ivanka's words hung in the air, Jasmine's history whispered of storms weathered, battles won, primed for the escalation that would expose the fragility of unearned crowns. The moderator's plea for civility dissolves into the charged hush that follows Ivanka's opening salvo. Microphones hum like live wires, cameras zoom tight on faces, and the nation leans in. Ivanka straightens, pearls catching the light, and fires again, this time with the velvet precision of someone who's never been told no. "Congresswoman, let's talk substance," she says, voice lilting like a lullaby laced with arsenic. "You champion equity, but your record is a patchwork of performative stunts. Quorum breaks, viral sound bites, photo ops with protest signs. Real leaders build bridges, not barricades. Tell us, how many actual jobs did your theatrics create for the families you claim to represent?" A ripple of murmurs sweeps the hall. Phones rise like periscopes. Ivanka's lips twitch upward, smugness blooming as she senses the room tilting her way. She pivots, gesturing to the panel's corporate sponsors. "These executives didn't inherit their seats. They earned them through innovation, risk, global vision. You, on the other hand, rode identity politics to a safe district. That's not depth. That's demographic math." The jab lands like a slap, the word identity dripping with the implication that Jasmine's very presence is unearned. A diversity checkbox rather than a battlefield victory. Jasmine's fingers rest lightly on the table, unmoving. No flinch, no flicker. Only her eyes, dark, unblinking, ancient as justice, track Ivanka's every syllable. The silence stretches, thick and electric, a held breath that makes the smug smile falter for half a heartbeat. Ivanka presses harder, scenting blood. "Come now, Congresswoman, cat got your tongue? Or is the weight of real scrutiny finally sinking in?" She leans forward, voice dropping to a conspiratorial purr. "This stage isn't a courtroom where you grandstand for cameras. It's where policy meets reality. And reality, darling, doesn't grade on passion." The crowd stirs, some nodding at Ivanka's polish, others bristling at the condescension. A low whistle escapes a young delegate in the back. A phone screen flashes #NotYourDarling. Ivanka barrels on, slick rhetoric accelerating like a runaway train. She cites GDP figures, tax incentives, global competitiveness. Numbers polished to a sheen, each statistic a tiny dagger aimed at Jasmine's legislative record. "While you were breaking quorum, we were negotiating trade deals that lifted millions. While you marched, we modernized infrastructure. Results, Congresswoman. Not rallies." Sweat beads at Ivanka's temple now, the only crack in the facade. The more she speaks, the more the words tangle in their own gloss, each sentence a desperate bid to fill the void Jasmine refuses to grant. The Congresswoman's calm is a gravitational pull drawing every eye, every heartbeat. Ivanka's voice rises, edged with something frantic. "Admit it, you're outclassed. This isn't your league." She spreads her arms, appealing to the room, but the gesture feels theatrical, hollow. Jasmine finally exhales, a soft, deliberate sound that slices the tension like a scalpel. The audience leans forward as one organism. Ivanka's smirk freezes, the first hairline fracture in the mask. The air crackles. Anticipation so dense it hums. Jasmine's lips part, but no words come yet. Instead, she lets the silence do the work, a masterclass in composure that turns Ivanka's barrage into echo. The villain has spent her arsenal, the hero hasn't fired a shot. And in that unbearable pause, the entire nation feels the shift, the moment when arrogance meets its reckoning, and the storm finally breaks. Jasmine Crockett leans forward, her voice emerging like a clear bell through the storm, measured, resonant, cutting through the haze of Ivanka's barrage without a hint of tremor. "Miss Trump," she begins, the title laced with polite steel, "you speak of depth and leagues as if power is a private club, inherited like a family estate. But let's unpack that, shall we? Real leadership isn't about the shine of boardrooms, it's about the grit of courtrooms where lives hang in the balance, not stock portfolios." The room stills, a collective inhale as eyes dart between the women. Ivanka crosses her arms, that smirk holding, but her posture stiffens ever so slightly. Jasmine pauses, letting the words settle like dust after an explosion. "You question my record? Fine. As a public defender in Bowie County, I stood for the forgotten. Kids facing life sentences for minor missteps, families crushed by a system that profits from their pain. I didn't inherit my cases, I fought them, sacrificing weekends, safety, sometimes my own peace, to keep one more soul from the prison pipeline. Founded my own firm to champion civil rights, suing for voting access when others looked away. That's service, Miss Trump, not a photo op, but blood, sweat, and unyielding truth." A murmur rises from the crowd. Nods from the back rows where everyday faces reflect Jasmine's fire. Ivanka shifts, her fingers tapping the table, a tell subtle but there. Jasmine presses on, voice steady as a heartbeat. Now, you tout results over rallies. But let's reveal the reality behind your rhetoric. While advising in the White House, you and your husband reported between $172 million and $640 million in outside income. That's not public service. That's profiting from the people's trust. She pauses again, the number hanging heavy, drawing gasps from the audience. Phones light up. Whispers erupt. Did she just say that? Ivanka's eyes narrow, the smug curve of her lips flattening. That's unsubstantiated, she interjects. But Jasmine raises a hand, calm as a judge calling order. Oh, it's substantiated, Ms. Trump. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington documented it all. Financial disclosures painting a picture of ethics bent for gain. You preached women's empowerment while your brand secured trademarks in China, fast-tracked after your father's election. 41 in total by 2019, including approvals just days before he reversed course on ZTE sanctions amid trade wars. Coincidence, or the very gatekeeping you accuse others of lacking? The revelation lands like thunder. Crowd gasps swell into low cheers. Tell her! A voice shouts from the gallery. Ivanka's face pales, her poise cracking as she leans back, whispering urgently to an aide. Jasmine doesn't rush. She builds suspense, letting each fact unfold like a prosecutor's exhibit. You violated the Hatch Act 8 times in 48 hours alone, promoting your products from the podium of power. Your advisor, Kellyanne Conway, even urged Americans to go buy Ivanka's stuff on national TV, an ethics breach that screamed conflict. While I broke quorum in Texas for 38 days in 2021, fleeing to D.C. to block voter suppression, bills that threatened democracy itself, you were negotiating deals that lined pockets. I filed more bills as a freshman in the Texas House than any other. Reforms for criminal justice, climate action, economic lifts for the overlooked. No silver spoon required. Applause breaks out sporadically, the moderator banging a gavel in vain. Ivanka's confidence unravels visibly. Her hands clench, eyes darting as if searching for an exit from the spotlight's glare. Jasmine's gaze remains locked, unshakable. In Congress now, I've sponsored the Higher Credit Act to boost jobs for Texans, fought on oversight to hold corruption accountable, ranked on judiciary to protect civil liberties. That's depth, Ms. Trump, earned through defending the vulnerable against the very entitlement you wield like a weapon. You dismiss my identity politics. My identity is the American story, rising from St. Louis streets, law grad as the first black alum in the House, turning pain into policy. Yours? A dynasty's echo, hollow and stripped of the name. The cheers amplify, waves of affirmation crashing over the stage. Yes, preach. Audience members stand, fist pumping, the energy electric as Jasmine's words validate every struggle in the room. Ivanka stammers a retort. This is about policy, not personal, but it's drowned in the roar, her voice thin, crumbling into stunned silence. She stares ahead, the facade shattered, arrogance deflated like a punctured balloon. Jasmine leans back, a final pause for emphasis, her composure a masterstroke. So, Ms. Trump, if this is your league, consider me all in. Service over silver spoons. That's what builds nations. The mic drop moment reverberates, the crowd erupting in full-throated ovation, phones capturing the triumph. Ivanka sits frozen, the villain unmasked, as the hero's truth echoes far beyond the walls, setting off shockwaves that would ripple through the nation like wildfire. The final echo of Jasmine's voice still rings in the rafters when the first phone screen lights up in the front row. Within 30 seconds, hashtag Jasmine Stands Tall is born. Within 3 minutes, it's the top trend on every platform. Within 10, it's global. The clip Jasmine's calm, surgical dismantling of Ivanka's privilege rockets past 1 million views before the moderator can call for a commercial break. Twitter timelines flood with freeze-frame screenshots, Ivanka's mouth frozen mid-stammer, Jasmine's unflinching gaze captioned, "Service silver spoons." TikTok stitches explode. Gen Z creators lip-syncing Jasmine's trademark pauses, overlaying courtroom gavels and cash register cha-chings for every ethics violation she listed. One viral edit loops Ivanka's darling with a record scratch into Jasmine's measured mess, Trump racking up 40 million loops by midnight. Memes swarm like righteous locusts. A split-screen GIF shows Ivanka mid-smirk dissolving into the melting Nazi from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Captioned, "When you bring birthright to a merit fight." Another superimposes Jasmine's face on the Statue of Liberty torch blazing with the text "Earned IT." Instagram reels stitched together Ivanka's Hatch Act montage with cash falling like confetti, soundtrack to Money, Money, Money. The algorithm feasts, the people devour, celebrities pile on. Cardi B tweets a voice note, "Jasmine just read her like a bedtime story and tucked privilege in for the night, period." LeBron James posts the clip to his 20 million followers with the single line, "That's how you answer the bell." Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez live streams from her office clapping slowly. Congresswoman Crockett didn't just win a debate, she reminded America who actually shows up for us. Even centrist pundits scramble. Jake Tapper opens his show with the footage, a masterclass in composure and receipts. Ana Navarro on The View wipes away a tear. That wasn't a takedown, that was a coronation. Everyday Americans flood comment sections with personal testimonies. A Detroit nurse writes, "I work doubles so my daughter can be the first to college. Jasmine just spoke for both of us." An immigrant father from Houston posts a photo of his naturalization certificate beside the clip, "This is why we came." A white veteran from Pennsylvania shares, "I voted red my whole life. Tonight I'm proud to stand tall with Rep. Crockett." The hashtag becomes a digital town square where strangers swap stories of sacrifice, each post another brick in a growing monument to earned wisdom. Politicians feel the ground shift. A GOP senator scheduled to defend Ivanka on Fox cancels last minute, citing scheduling conflicts. Two moderate Democrats who'd hedged on quorum break criticism now praise Jasmine's strategic courage. A Texas Republican state rep deletes a thread mocking the 2021 walkout, replacing it with a terse lessons in leadership. The White House press secretary dodges 3 questions about the exchange, finally muttering next topic. On Capitol Hill, staffers whisper that leadership is quietly scrubbing Ivanka's name from upcoming fundraisers. Morning shows dissect the moment frame by frame. CNN runs a Chiron service over spoons. Crockett redefines power. MSNBC's panel of legal experts replay the trademark timeline. Jaws slack. Fox tries damage control until their own focus group leaks. Suburban moms rating Jasmine's composure 9.2 out of 10, Ivanka's 3.1. By noon, hashtag earned not inherited trends alongside a Jasmine stands tall, a 1-2 punch that reframes the entire conversation. Pundits who once dismissed identity politics now scramble to praise authentic leadership. Late night hosts prep monologues. Trevor Noah's writers draft a bit where Ivanka's privilege card gets declined at the Merit ATM. Public discourse tilts on its axis. Op-ed pages that usually platform dynasty defenses now run pieces titled "The End of Nepotism Chic" and "Why Grit Won the Night." College freshmen start group chats titled "Crockett 101." High school debate teams assign the exchange as required viewing. Google searches for public defender careers spike 400% overnight. Applications to Jasmine's alma mater, University of Houston Law, surge from first-gen students citing the clip in essays. The ripple becomes a wave. Earned wisdom over pedigree is no longer aspirational, it's the new benchmark. By nightfall, merchandise appears, hastily printed t-shirts, reading service, and silver spoons in Jasmine's campaign font. A GoFundMe for Texas voting rights nonprofits, launched by a college sophomore, hits $100,000. In 6 hours, every donation note quoting Jasmine verbatim. The nation doesn't just watch history, it participates, sharing, remixing, amplifying until Ivanka's flop is less a moment than a movement. And somewhere in the glow of a million screens, the message crystallizes: dignity, receipts, and resilience just redrew the map of American power. As the applause thunders like a righteous wave, Jasmine Crockett rises slightly in her seat, her presence commanding the stage without a single raised voice. Ivanka remains seated, a statue of faded gloss, her empire of entitlement cracked wide open. But Jasmine doesn't gloat, she reframes, turning the wreckage into revelation. "Miss Trump?" she says softly, voice carrying the weight of generations. "This isn't about one debate or one dismissal. It's proof that true power isn't whispered in back rooms of birthright or flashed in family fortunes. It's rooted in resilience, the kind that rises from public defender files stacked high with the stories of the overlooked, from quorum breaks that defied darkness to protect every voter's voice. Service isn't a slogan, it's the daily grind of defending dignity when the world bets against it." The words land with quiet force, reframing the clash not as petty rivalry, but as a mirror to America's soul. Dignity eclipses arrogance here, on this stage where silver spoons bend under the hammer of hard-won truth. Jasmine's eyes sweep the room, connecting with faces etched by their own battles. Immigrants who've crossed borders for a shot at the dream, workers who've unionized against odds, families who've turned food stamps into first homes. You see, Ms. Trump, your league is one of legacy loans, where power is passed like heirlooms, untested by the fires that forge real leaders. Mine? It's the merit-based promise America was built on. From St. Louis streets to congressional halls, every step earned through sweat, sacrifice, and unbreaking service to those the system forgets. The audience leans in, hearts swelling with validation. This is the hero's anthem, resilience over pedigree, service eclipsing the smugness of unearned thrones. Jasmine paints the picture vividly. The public defender who chose justice over jackpot, the congresswoman who files bills for black and brown futures while others chase headlines. It's the story of every viewer tuning in, from the Filipino nurse in California fighting for fair pay to the Latino entrepreneur in Texas bootstrapping against bias. Arrogance assumes the table is set for you, she continues, but America's promise is that we build it together, immigrant hands laying bricks, resilient spirits drafting laws that lift all. When entitlement gatekeeps, it doesn't just exclude, it erodes the very merit that made us mighty. The crescendo builds, an uplifting surge that unites the divided hall. Jasmine's voice rises, infused with the pride of identity unbroken. Look around. This clash exposes the lie that power flows from bloodlines. It flows from shared struggles, the immigrant parents' midnight shifts, the activists' arrested hands, the defenders' courtroom vigils. We've overcome odds stacked like mountains because dignity isn't given, it's claimed. In reframing this moment, we reclaim our narrative, not as outsiders, but as the architects of tomorrow. True power, it's us, resilient and relentless, proving service trumps silver every time. Tears glisten in eyes across the crowd, nods ripple like affirmation. Jasmine embodies the moral. Arrogance crumbles when met with authenticity. Birthright bows to the bold who've bled for belonging. This is America's merit-based heartbeat, where immigrant-friendly grit and identity pride converge in unity, turning personal odysseys into national triumph. Viewers feel it deep, their own stories of odds defied, from visa battles to vote drives, now woven into this victory tapestry. Embrace them, Jasmine urges silently, for in sharing struggles we forge unbreakable bonds. Dignity doesn't just win debates, it redefines destinies, inspiring a nation to stand taller, prouder, in the light of earned light. The echo lingers, a call to action in every heart as the world beyond waits to be remade. Ivanka Trump thought she could outtalk Jasmine Crockett, dismiss her with a smirk and a silver spoon. What happened next shocked everyone. Unyielding truth shattered the illusion of inherited power in a single, unforgettable clash. The overreach met its match, arrogance silenced by service, pedigree humbled by purpose. In that electric moment, America remembered its core moral clarity, character over connections, grit over gold, dignity over dynasty. This wasn't just a debate, it was a declaration. Jasmine didn't just stand tall, she lifted every underdog, every striver, every immigrant dream deferred into the light. The nation watched, hearts racing, as earned wisdom eclipsed empty entitlement, proving once again that the real power in this country belongs to those who fight for it, not those born to it. If this story fired you up, if it reminded you of your own battles won against the odds, then you're already part of the movement. Subscribe now for more cinematic tales of everyday heroes prevailing, real people dismantling gatekeepers with nothing but truth and tenacity. Hit that bell so you never miss the next mic drop moment. Share this video if you've ever seen real grit win, if you've lived the hustle, defended the voiceless, or stood firm when the elite tried to push you out. Tag the fighters in your life. Let's flood the feed with stories of American tenacity, because this isn't the end, it's the spark. Together we celebrate the resilient, the relentless, the real. Join the movement. Stand tall. The future is earned, not inherited.